You're staring at the computer screen and have written, then deleted the same sentence over and over again. Your work needs to get done, but the writer's block is real. That's where the free Odyssey app can help, with thousands of podcasts to boost your mood, inspire you, and even teach you a thing or two. Jump into Glennon Doyle's We Can Do Hard Things, The Tony Kornheiser Show, and say more with Dr. Sheila, starring Amy Poehler. Download the free Odyssey app and start listening. Your favorite mood break, your Odyssey.
Bob Lutz.
What do you want me to be? Here are the choices. This guy. Jeff, how are you? You look good today. Did you trim your eyebrows?
I like. Jeff Lutz.
It's not really about sense of humor. It's about whether I want to humor you. Do I? Not really.
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I heartily endorse this event or product.
Hello again, everybody. We are back. It's a Monday edition, the Bob and Jeff Show on KFH Radio. Bob Lutz, Jeff Lutz is back after a sojourn to Minneapolis, St. Paul to see his beloved Eagles.
That's right.
Max Fire producing, engineering the show. 869-1240. That is the IHOP hotline. We look forward to your participation, calls, and everything else that gets you invested in our show today. Lots to talk about. Shockers with a good showing in Myrtle Beach. Man, Liberty. That's going to turn out to be a really, really good win for Liberty because Wichita State, I think, is going to have a pretty good year. But Liberty looked, are they ranked? I meant to look this up before.
Are they 25th? There was some team that was LU that was.
No, that's not LU.
Liberty's not LU?
I don't think
that's
so.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I don't think so.
But that was Andy Katz's poll. I don't think that was the official AP poll.
I don't care what Andy Katz, what kind of poll he throws out there. What I care about is the AP poll.
Well, who's LU then that would be ranked?
I don't know. I'll check it later. Liberty, not ranked. In fact, they're only getting 7 votes. Did they lose a game I'm not aware of?
I have no idea. I have not been following Liberty, the Flames, as close as I usually do.
Well, you don't follow anything at any time. And that's becoming a little bit of a problem on this show.
What are you talking about?
Well, the fact that you just don't follow much.
That's just not true. I follow plenty.
Well, if you're not following college basketball.
I was out of town for 4 days. And do you hear my voice? This is my voice.
I don't care about how you did a lot of ranting and raving.
A lot of raving. Less ranting.
The last time you went to see the Eagles, you came back and you were dismayed. They played all the same songs in all the same order, which they're still doing.
Change the order.
No, they haven't changed anything. So changing the order.
No, I'm just saying, if we're being factual here, they've changed the order.
But none of the songs.
That's correct.
They haven't added anything new, no deeper cuts.
No.
Nothing you haven't heard a million times. So why'd you come out of this with so much excitement?
Because I had a lot of fun. I knew what to expect this time. I wasn't expecting anything beyond what they've been doing. It wasn't the first show of the tour. It's the last show of the year. The last 2 shows of the year, and I knew
they're done now till
January.
Really?
Yes.
Well, there you go.
And I just had fun. The Doobie Brothers.
Were they engaging? Were the Eagles engaging?
Don was pretty fun. I mean, he was nice.
Well, give me something he said.
He said, thanks a lot. We've been practicing. I thought that was
What does that mean?
Well, it's just funny. Like, hey, we've been practicing. Obviously. Like, they know these songs. It was just a joke, okay? I just thought it was cute.
Listen, nobody loves the Eagles more than me, including you. But I'm still in my defiant mode. I'm still in the come on, guys.
I'm just not sure after seeing the show and not expecting anything, knowing what was to come. I don't know what other song would fit in that set list. I don't know. It would just be kind of stark if they go Take It Easy one of these nights, Lion Eyes, Take It to the Limit. Oh, and here's Sad Cafe. Like, it wouldn't make sense. I'm not excusing it. It just wouldn't make any sense.
So now you bought in the greatest hits of the Eagles, and that's what we're going to hear, and that's it. All right, Liberty 5-0.
Good for Liberty.
They've beaten Mid-Atlantic, Charlotte out of the AAC, Furman, another good mid-major team. They pounded Wichita State by 17, and I don't understand how they're only getting 7 votes. And then they won the tournament championship by beating a good Vermont team by 10 yesterday. They have Florida Atlantic, which dropped a game to Bryant,
Yes.
by the way.
There have been some weird early season results in college basketball.
They have Florida Atlantic coming up. They have a game against number 17 Alabama down the road. And they don't have a lot of other opportunities. But if you watch that Liberty Shocker game, Liberty got every shot they wanted and made most of them.
Yeah, they're a good 3-point shooting team. They're not a big team. They shoot the ball. That's kind of what Liberty hangs its hat on, and they've done that successfully over the course of the first couple weeks of the season.
They shot 35% from the 3-point line, only 42% overall, which shocks me. I thought they shot better than that. An even rebounding game, same free throw percentage. Wichita State made only 2 of 14 3-pointers in that game, but was much better last night. And Kenny Poto looks like a new man, even though he only had 4 points and no rebounds against Liberty in 26 minutes. He played much better last night.
Well, we'll see when the Shockers start playing again. That's if you think Liberty is the best opponent Wichita State has played, and Kenny Poto showed up like that, then maybe we need to wait and see.
I'm not going to wait too long. I'm gonna make some declarations. Colby Rogers is the real deal, even though he didn't have a great game against Liberty either. I like what Xavier Bell's done at the point. He's a different kind of point guard. He's had a really good start to his year. He can pass it, he can score, he can rebound. Those three, that's a pretty
Should Kenny Poto,
a pretty good trio to build around.
I hear you, but should Kenny Poto ever go a game reboundless?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Just wanted to get out.
And I'd tell Kenny that. If Kenny were sitting right there where you are, here's what I'd say at my age. Kenny, you got to rebound. We can't have you play 26 minutes and not get a rebound.
I know he spaces the floor and guards positions and stuff.
But he is averaging 12.7 points and 7.8 rebounds, even with that game.
Right. And I want to see how this.
So that's the one game that he didn't rebound in.
Okay.
How about if we cut him some slack?
And that was the game that the Shockers had a real opponent. I don't know, St. Louis, I guess.
St. Louis is a good team.
They've been okay.
How about if we cut him some slack?
We'll cut him some slack. But if we're having expectations.
His other games have been 12 rebounds against St. Louis last night, 8 against Coastal Carolina, 5 against Friends, nobody cares, 11 against Western Kentucky, and 11 against Lipscomb.
Okay, well, I sit somewhat corrected. But I think sooner or later, hopefully sooner, we need to start talking about Wichita State as if it has expectations, and not
talking about them
they
now,
look pretty
like,
good, and
I'm
they
talking about them now like
they
they
shot
have
okay. And
what are you talking? What do you
outside
mean?
of that one game, they did
what
fine.
What are you talking about?
I want to talk about
There's
Wichita.
all kinds of talk about expectations.
Well, I want to talk
about
them.
It was covered all over last night on Twitter. Great, there are expectations.
Okay, and then I want to talk about them.
Well, we are talking about them.
Except that one game, and they kind of did.
You're allowed to have one-off games.
Okay, but it shouldn't be against the best team you play.
Kenny Poto, you can have an off.
I'm not even talking about individual performances at this point.
They had a bad game against Liberty.
Okay,
but Liberty is a very good team that will be in the tournament this year and will knock off some people.
Really?
Yes.
That's
the kind of team, in my opinion, that gets to a Sweet 16.
Maybe it will.
That's how good they look.
I don't even know what conference Liberty's in.
Sun Belt. That's a good team. Now, I'm not completely letting the Shockers off the hook for that game. They didn't play well. But they did play well in the 2 other games in Myrtle Beach, and they looked really good last night, beating a St. Louis team that has high expectations in the Atlantic 10.
Do we know that?
They were without a couple of their players, but the Shockers are without a couple of their guys.
Right. Guys that they haven't had.
Yeah, St. Louis has a pretty good ball club.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
So you coming in here after watching Don Henley and
Yeah,
trying
he's
to
good
form an
stuff.
opinion isn't going to fly with me today.
Well,
I watched every second of those games.
I'm happy. I'm glad you did. I was doing stuff, and I'll start watching
It's
Wichita
fine to
State.
do stuff, but don't come in here and tell me Kenny Poto has to play better.
Well, I want to start talking about Wichita State differently because it's been, once they get their own guy, it's been all these cushioned and
There's
soft.
no cushion. There's not. Again, I don't know what you're talking about. You call them out when they don't play well. They didn't have I don't know that this is a team that is going to challenge Memphis and Florida Atlantic in the American, maybe.
Can I get a schedule?
But I'll tell you this right now. I want you
Okay.
to listen.
All right, I'm listening.
I'm looking forward to their games against K-State and Kansas.
All right.
I want to see how Kenny Poto does against the big fella for KU.
Okay. St. Louis beat Berea College, Southern Indiana, Lincoln, Missouri, Illinois State, and Wyoming before a couple losses to Vermont and Wichita
And
State.
Vermont's good. They're good every year.
They're pretty good.
So, yeah, there's no we're cushioning the talk about Wichita State. That's utterly ridiculous.
Well, it's not utterly ridiculous.
Who's doing that?
And KU's going to destroy them. I mean, can we just...
Really?
Yeah.
KU's going to destroy them.
Yes, that will be a 25-point game at the minimum.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
I disagree with you. This is a better Shocker team.
How is Xavier Bell going to do against Marcus Adams?
Against Marcus Adams?
Who am I thinking about?
What are you talking
Their
about?
point guard.
Who? DeJuan?
Yeah, DeJuan Harris.
What? Marcus Harris?
I don't know. I said
You don't
Marcus
even know the
I was
players.
thinking KJ Adams.
See, here's where when you make a mistake with
Yeah, that was
me,
bad.
I'm going to jump you. I don't want you to do that again.
I don't know names anymore, okay? That wasn't me not knowing.
Well, then we need to get that.
I've
looked
already
at.
forgotten it. So, DeJuan Harris. How's he
DeJuan
going to...
Harris is a better player than Xavier Bell, but Xavier Bell's impressed me.
No, I'm not saying he's going to do poorly. I was legitimately asking how you
I think he'll hold his own.
I think Xavier Bell's been much better with the ball in his hands. I think that's brought out the best in him, being able to handle the ball.
He's got some quickness. He's left-handed, which fools people. I like him. You can go ahead and say I'm being a fool. But I like, I'm not saying, there's no way Kansas wins that game by 25.
Really?
No way.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to be
They
a
lost to
shocker
Liberty
homer
by
here.
17.
Yeah, but Liberty, that was a bad game. They won't have that kind of game against Kansas. Now, Hunter Dickinson and Poto, that'll be a real
Pretty much
challenge.
across the board,
But you
real
got
challenge.
Quincy Ballard, you got some depth at that position, so you can throw some things at Hunter Dickinson. Colby Rogers, that'll be a great matchup with Kevin McCullough.
It will.
So if you have all these great matchups, how do you see?
I don't see
What do you see
Dickinson.
to 25?
I don't see Dickinson against either Shocker Big as a great matchup.
I don't
We're
say
talking
it's a great matchup. I don't think he'll dominate it the way you think.
Okay,
He will.
well, he is the reigning, or not the reigning, but the odds-on favorite for National Player of the Year, and Wichita
he's
State.
one of the guys,
and
certainly in the discussion.
and Harris and McCullough are the best defensive backcourt in the country, and I don't think
KJ
that's
Adams, original, pretty interesting, right?
I guess.
I mean, fairly interesting.
I don't know if I
that you
can
just
quite.
Say, I don't know that you just say Adams is just going to blow him off. And then what? And then what do you have for Kansas?
You don't have a lot. You have Timberlake, and you have.
So you got those four going up against the Shockers four. And some other guys, obviously.
Basically a 6-on-6
The Shockers
matchup.
have more depth, even though they're not really a depth team.
They've played 7 guys, essentially.
But they expanded that last night. Jacob Germany got in, the freshman Hugo, I can't say his name.
Joy.
He got in, did some good things. So they expanded their depth a little bit last night.
Okay, but Jacob Germany has been a DMP a few times.
Right.
I'm not going to say that he's going to go in against Kansas and make a difference.
I'm not saying that either. I'm saying that the Shockers have more depth than Kansas right now. The Shockers have a lot of people they can throw.
But they're just people. KU is KU.
Man, you're really being difficult.
I'm not trying to be difficult.
I don't know why you're doing this today.
You asked.
Shocker Nation, what do you think of this? Here's a guy that was up in Minnesota, and I'm going to be all over you for this.
Fine.
I am, because you're making me a little mad. I mean, what right do you have to bring your bucket of water and pour it?
I'm not pouring any water. You wanted to have a real conversation? This is how I really feel. You think they're going to compete against KU?
I don't know that I
don't see that.
I think the early line will be in the neighborhood of 11.5. I think the Shockers can get within that number. Don't think they'll win, but I think they'll be, certainly it's not a 25-point game. I'll bet you any amount of money on that. Any amount.
I don't know.
Any amount.
I don't know what you're seeing necessarily.
I'm seeing a good team.
Against St. Louis. Playing KU is
They're
different.
in the Atlantic 10. You wanted the Shockers to be in the Atlantic 10. That's the conference.
Well, it's better than the
love.
AAC.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't get
Just
it.
because they beat one team out of that
No,
conference?
they've looked good. They look good.
Okay.
They got a guy now. They got scoring. They're well coached.
I
They
don't
rebound
disagree.
ferociously. Their defense isn't as good as I'm sure Paul Mills would like it to be, but it can improve. They've got a sharpshooter in Colby Rogers, a guy who makes shots. They don't take bad three-pointers the way they have the last couple of years. At least not that I've seen so far. They don't have a true point guard, but Xavier Bell has fit the role okay. He's done fine. Give him a chance.
I'll give him a chance. I'm just telling you what I see and believe right now. That doesn't mean my mind won't change later, or that I won't feel differently, or that it doesn't mean anything. It just means how I feel today.
Well, we'll learn a lot more about KU over in Maui, right? Now, they're not in Maui. They're in Honolulu. But that field for the Maui Classic is absolutely loaded.
Right. They already have a win over Kentucky. Chaminade won't be a challenge, but after that.
Kentucky had KU on the ropes.
Correct.
We'll see. Purdue could be in the mix. Gonzaga, Tennessee. We'll see. KU's got a tough road over in Hawaii, and it starts tonight. And I can't wait to watch Purdue Gonzaga at 4:00. That's just that's an unbelievable game.
Pretty good start
to get. So lots of good stuff. I'm higher, obviously, on the Shockers than this guy is, and I think we should take him to task.
Well, I'm more than open to that idea. If someone would like to come in and take me to task,
well, I think many people
set me straight.
I think many people would love to take you to task.
Well, I'm open to it.
I'm surprised your Twitter hasn't blown up.
Has
frankly, at JLutz82. I'd be all over him if I was out there in the listening world. Shockers have Norfolk State, Richmond, Missouri. Missouri lost a bye game to Jackson State. Then they have South Dakota State down at Intrust Bank Arena. The Salukis of Southern Illinois in here on the 16th. And then the back-to-back games on your birthday against Kansas State in Kansas City on the 21st. And then 9 days later, back in Kansas City to face the Jayhawks in their final non-conference game of this campaign. So I'm looking forward to it. Here's what we have on the show today. We're going to talk to a couple of high school players who have been instrumental in their teams reaching state title contests coming up Saturday. We start after the break here with Landon Renberger from Derby, an offensive lineman. Derby with a last-second field goal to beat Topeka Washburn Rural. And they're headed up to the 6A title game to face Gardner Edgerton. At 3:25, Jackson Voth from Cheney 19 catches on Friday night, 19 receptions. I can't even make that work in my head. Jackson Voth from Cheney will join us at 3:25. They came back not from 22 to nothing down like they did the first time they played Andale. They came back from 24 to nothing deficit to beat Andale and get to the 3A state title game. They'll take on Topeka Hayden. So those are our guests today. We'll be back in a moment. We'll talk some Derby football with Landon Renberger next.
The Bob and Jeff Show on 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Landon Renberger joins us from Derby High Football. No days off, I'm sure. Hey, Landon, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Well, we appreciate you coming on. We've talked to Coach Clark numerous times. We wanted to get some players on this week. So first thing I want to ask you, it's been a little bit since I was in high school. But I'm guessing that your kicker, Grady Jessup, is having a pretty good run right now. Is he pretty popular?
Yeah, for sure. He got a lot of attention after the game, as he deserves it. It was a great way to go out, and just watching him make that kick was a great feeling. I grew up playing with him, so I've known him for a long time. So it was a great feeling watching him make that.
So I've heard you guys, I think on TV a couple interviews where you say, we were real confident that he would make that kick and everything like that. But and I'm not trying to get you to say anything negative, but I mean, what were you really thinking? Because he had just missed one. This obviously is a chance to go to state. So how nervous were you for yourself, for him? What were you thinking in those moments?
Well, for sure, after he missed that first one, I mean, there was a little more, worry than there should have been. But I just knew that, the week before against Manhattan, he made one from the same hash, same distance. So I knew he had enough confidence. The whole team talked to him before he went up there to kick that. And so I knew that once we talked to him and we got ready, I knew that we were going to be all right.
Talking Derby football with one of their stalwarts on the offensive line, Landon Renberger. Derby coming off consecutive road wins at Manhattan, at Washburn Rural. That's an impressive 2-week run to go on the road and beat teams of that quality. How difficult were those games?
Those were two of the hardest, at least for offensive linemen. Those were the two hardest defensive lines that we've seen all year. And so the run game was hard against Manhattan. We struggled in that game, but we finally figured it out against Washburn, and Derek had a great game running the ball, and I'm glad that he was behind us. And we had a lot better against Washburn than we did against Manhattan rushing the ball. And I think that opened the passing game up a lot more against Washburn too, to where we were able to strike from both cylinders, not just throwing the ball, but running the ball too. And so I think that helped us a lot there in the fourth quarter. We had two good drives to set up touchdowns and then the field goal at the end.
So, yeah, I know as an offensive lineman, and obviously a very good one, you're going to block for whoever's out there. You're going to do what your coach says and follow your quarterback. But what was it like? What has it been like having Braxton back out there in the huddle, Braxton Clark, your quarterback? What's it been like having him back and just, having him in the huddle?
It's been a pleasure. I mean, I've been playing with him since second grade, so I know what he's capable of. I love playing with him. He's so confident in himself and in us, to where I know that if we give him time, he's gonna pick apart whatever defense we play against. So I have no worry in him. I'm so confident in him, and he's done a great job this year to where whatever defense we play, he's gonna have a great game.
Landon Renberger, our guest, one of Derby's finest on the offensive line. The Panthers facing Gardner Edgerton coming up in Emporia on Saturday afternoon for the 6A title. So you played football in Derby for a long time. At what age do kids in Derby become aware of the Derby football tradition and start to really build themselves for becoming a part of that once they get to high school?
Well, I definitely have to say anywhere in our Derby Junior football program, anytime there, to where most of the guys you play around then are going to be the guys that you're playing with in high school. So it's mainly around the relationships you can build there and the confidence and trust in between everybody, to where you know that you're going to be with these guys for the long run. And I know everybody in the town of Derby goes to all the games, so they know what our culture is. They know what we stand for. And as a kid growing up, all the way through second grade to eighth grade, I was at every Derby home football game, and I knew what our standard was whenever we started winning state titles in 2013. So I'm pretty sure everybody under us is ready to do that too whenever they get up here for high school.
How much does what you've done against Washburn Rural and Manhattan help you? And I'm just asking because, in 5A and 4A and other classes, even in the playoffs in the West, you're playing teams that you've already played before, that are in your league, that you're familiar with. In 6A, it's not the case because those schools in the West are still kind of at the East, right? So playing a sort of an unfamiliar opponent, someone you don't know as much about in the last 2 weeks, how much do you think that might help you against Gardner Edgerton?
Well, I think that it helps out a lot because, one, film study is a big thing. I know all of us, we spend a ridiculous amount of time on film. So I think that's part of the main reason why we go into the game so prepared. And for sure, Manhattan, it was a little easier to game plan for because we'd play them week one. And then Washburn, we had a bunch of film on them. So mainly film is part of the reason why we go into each game so prepared. But, yeah, definitely playing all those Kansas City schools and northern Kansas isn't the same as a lot of teams down here in Wichita.
Final moments here with Landon Renberger from Derby, one of their offensive linemen. You've got Gardner Edgerton. They've only lost one game. They're obviously very good, and they have a great football tradition as well. I'm curious to know what this week looks like as you prepare for a Saturday afternoon game and not a Friday night game, and it's Thanksgiving week. So take us through what this week is like, Landon.
Well, that just makes me think we got one more day to prepare, and that's going to give us all the time in the world to draw up a perfect game plan. And I know Coach Clark's, he always does a good job with that, so I know we'll be prepared for that. We always usually have fun during our Thanksgiving week. I was a part of it my freshman and sophomore year, and it's always a fun time. We all have fun. We do this game called the Turkey Bowl where we have the JV guys play against each other, and all the seniors get to coach the offense and defense. So it's just overall a fun week. I mean, we're not going to take any time off, with school. Without having school off this week, it just gives us a lot more time to prepare, watch film, practice, be together, and just ultimately prepare for 1 o'clock on Saturday.
So it might be that some of the skill guys are watching the calories this week. As an offensive lineman, do you just get to eat whatever you want on Thanksgiving?
Well, pretty much. Pretty much do all that. But then I got wrestling coming up too, so I kind of got to watch what I eat a little bit. But wrestling hasn't started yet, so I won't worry about that.
Yeah, how much weight do you have to cut for wrestling? I'm just curious.
Only 10 pounds this year. So in the past, it's been
That's not bad.
No, but 10 pounds for a guy like me is a few practices. So I'll be all right.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. Coach Clark said you'd be great on the radio, and I'd say he hit another home run on that. We appreciate talking with you. I'm a Derby grad, Landon. I don't know if you know that, so I'll be pulling for you guys against Gardner Edgerton.
Sounds good. Well, I thank you. Thank you for letting me on.
Thank you. Take care.
Appreciate it.
Landon Renberger from Derby Me being a Derby grad didn't seem to impress him.
Yeah, he did not care.
I
He's
thought
like,
he might.
who are you again?
Here's what I thought he might say. Oh yeah, I'm aware. We talk about you quite often.
You thought that?
Well, in the back of your brain, in the back of your mind, you're kind of hoping.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
I think those days are officially over. I just don't think that means anything to hardly anybody anymore.
No.
There was a
Nor
time,
should it.
There was a time way, way back, like in the mid to late 70s, even into the 80s, where I was still kind of.
Did you hear my school get a little shout out on Jim Rome?
I did not. What
Well, Barry Sanders was on, and he was talking about his dad playing at North High in 1956.
Well, I wish Barry'd come on this show.
Do we know that he
We've
won't?
made an attempt, and listen, we do our best.
Think he'll come on my KWCH podcast?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll entice him greatly. No, he won't come on that.
That's too bad.
But he was on Jim Rome. He was on who's the guy that wears the wife beater shirts for his?
Oh, Pat McAfee.
By the way, can I ask a question? You're a little younger. You're not really in the demographic I'd like to ask the question to, more in the 25 to 35 range. Is he a big deal?
I don't know.
I mean, is he a big deal?
I don't know what substance he offers. I don't know what opinion that he has.
In today's media world, is Pat McAfee?
I mean, he's a huge deal, but I don't necessarily.
Why? But
I don't know why. I
want to know what it is.
Because he's entertaining.
Is he entertaining on his radio show?
I guess. I mean, you can watch it anytime you want.
Well, if he's entertaining, then that explains it.
But he doesn't say anything. He just.
Sometimes you just want entertainment.
Yeah, but you should read this. I think it was Will Leach wrote a.
I like Will Leach.
Wrote a pretty scathing.
He does a podcast with our friend Bernie Miklasz.
Yeah, you should read his piece on Pat McAfee.
Well, maybe I will.
Took him down.
I like Will Leach. I'm going to try to get him on the show sometime.
Cynical guy, but I like it.
Well, listen. You don't think I can hold my own with a cynical guy?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
The cynicism might drive people out of the room.
It might.
I mean, I'm
be
right
careful
there.
with stuff like that.
What do you mean be careful with stuff
too
like
much
that?
cynicism is going to turn people off.
I have turned people off.
You think?
How many, I wonder?
Probably a lot.
Should that bother me?
Nah. It doesn't matter.
I often think about what a quiet, kind of unassuming, boring person I am in most of my life. And to think that I could turn people off with my...
You are pretty boring.
What do you mean by that? No, explain that a little bit.
You just put it on a tee for me, and I took the opportunity.
Well, I mean, I can be.
I've never been boring. That's...
What?
Unfortunately.
You have never been boring?
Never a day in my life
Oh,
have I been boring.
You know what I'd like to do more than hang out with you? Rather watch a fly die.
Well,
Ted Woodward, if you're listening, I know you chuckled at that.
Did he?
Yes.
At time number 2,816, he chuckled
Ted,
still?
if you're listening, text me and verify and confirm
He only texts
that you thought
when
that
I'm
was
funny.
He texts you?
Not recently, but he does sometimes.
Well, he tries to build you up. That's the wonderful person that Ted Woodward is.
Not sure that's what it is at all.
I don't need the affirmation, even though I just basically begged for it.
Yes.
KU, with every opportunity in the world to beat Kansas State on Saturday evening, couldn't pull it off. A pick six that was not converted, was not caught. A punt that was not fielded. A couple penalties that were iffy, and K-State gets out of there with their 15th straight win over Kansas and its third-string quarterback. And the give and take on Twitter, quite entertaining.
What'd you see?
Between the KU and the K-Staters.
Well,
I just
that
like
gap is narrowing.
I just like the banter, as long as everybody keeps it relatively friendly.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
It's somewhat entertaining. What do you mean? You got hammered.
I did.
You know, you were a fool. Fool alert. Fool alert.
For what?
for your tweet.
Okay, well, let's put it in.
Because way to go, Max.
I tweeted that.
That's maybe the funniest thing we've ever done.
I
on this.
tweeted that once again, Oklahoma State football is a fraud.
When did you do that?
While they were trailing to Houston.
What happened?
They beat Houston. That doesn't mean anything.
And if they win this week, what happens?
Did they go to the Big 12
That's
title?
correct.
Who do they play?
Texas.
Okay. They'll probably beat Texas.
You got to be careful. And one guy really took after you.
Yeah.
Did he block you? What happened?
Yeah, he did.
He blocked you.
Yeah.
Did he block me?
I don't know.
Because I kind of came after him because he used profanity in the worst possible way.
You know what I did?
I'm
I'm gonna tell you what I did.
Well, I saw on some cryptic tweet today. I did something really good when I could have done something really bad.
Yeah.
You know what? Nobody.
It was a discovery of personal growth. That's why I put it out there on Twitter. I wasn't trying to be.
So this guy was obvious, and the guy that went after you and didn't use profanity is a Oklahoma State guy.
Yeah, I don't mind him.
And then your good friend joined in.
Yeah, I don't mind him.
They both kind of took after you.
Yeah.
But the other guy really went after you.
A little too much.
And I see his point. I didn't like all the profanity.
There wasn't a point. He just wanted to yell at me.
I would go after you too, in some cases. So what was your personal area of growth?
I'm going to volunteer. He's a Scholars Bowl coach at the independent school, and I'm going to go volunteer at their Scholars Bowl tournament.
What if he doesn't want you?
He said anybody could do it, and I'm already confirmed, December 2nd.
Well, that's going to ruin his day.
He didn't have to accept me.
He accepted you.
Yeah, he sent me a confirmation.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, wasn't that nice?
What's the?
I'm very surprised
what's
that
the idea behind that?
I just wanted to take the high road.
Or is that not the high road, and that's sticking it in a little more?
Maybe, but I hope not.
I think there's a strong case to be made that it's passive aggressive, and we're gonna go.
Is it?
We're gonna go twist the knife a little bit. And I don't like that. So I don't know that you took the high road.
Well, what road did I take?
You took the stick the knife in and twist it.
Why is the knife in him? Shouldn't it be in me?
It is to a degree, but he dropped you on Twitter. In my view, that is a signal that you just move on. And I don't know, unless you're serious about repairing a relationship, unless you feel some remorse is not the right word, but regret. If that's
I have
the
no
case,
regrets.
well, then what's the purpose?
I really want to know what he meant by all
Stick
that.
the knife in.
And
That's what it is.
I don't want to be thought of that way. So I figured maybe I could repair that.
Nah,
I don't care
it won't
about
change any
I
of
don't
your
care about
Twitter
someone-
behavior.
No, it won't. But I don't care about being called the names. But he said something about, I don't like the way you behave. And I was like, what does that mean?
Well, I know exactly what he means.
What does it mean?
On Twitter, I know exactly what he means.
But I've been around him in person. He must not like me in person.
What do you mean you've been around him in person?
He's one of my friend's friends. We've had time together, at least once.
Well, he must not like you.
That's what he must not. But what did I do?
I don't know. You just rubbed him the wrong way.
I guess so.
And listen, I can see that.
Yeah, but I'm pretty harmless.
You are until you start to express yourself with the written word. You're pretty harmless in person because you just kind of blend into the background. But when you feel you've got enough distance from someone, and you're not really you're not really threatened, you like to tweet.
But I would have had that same conversation in person about Oklahoma State. They climb the mountain every year.
Well, what if
and
they
then
get to
fall
the title
flat
game?
on their face every year?
Aren't they as viable to be the next Big 12
They very well could be.
power?
But even then, at that point, it's like, okay, well, why didn't you do it in the 27 years.
But this seems to be bad timing on your part.
I don't think so.
They've got a chance to play for the Big 12 championship.
Okay, then go beat Texas.
What if they do?
Do it. I mean, they can. They beat KU, K-State, and Oklahoma. They can certainly beat Texas.
I mean, this seems to be a
But when you follow that up by...
This seems to be a strange year to do what you did Saturday. And here's the only reason you did it.
No, it's the best year to do that.
Because you assumed they weren't going to come back and beat
Not
Houston.
necessarily.
Exactly.
Houston's terrible.
But that's what you assumed.
Doesn't matter.
You got bitten.
They got beat 45-3 by Central Florida.
Yeah, they had a bad game, as anyone can have.
That's not the time to have a bad game.
It's too bad. I'll just say this. It's too bad.
Why? I mean, it's all in fun. It's sports. I get that people get upset.
He didn't have
get
fun.
riled up. I get riled up about my team. I get it.
He didn't have fun.
But I'd still have that
And when a guy
conversation.
lashes out and he doesn't have a team, you can't do that. 869-1240. Later in the show today, Jackson Voth from Cheney, who had 19 receptions. I don't know what he did in the secondary, but he's always a difference maker there as well. Cheney headed to the 3A title game. They came back from 24-0 down this time in Cheney to beat Andale. And what a year for Cheney. You know that gosh, I'm losing my mind too. You got me so rattled.
Good.
That Brandon Clark coaching tree. You got Appleby, who's Joel Appleby from Mill Valley. They're trying to win again against our guy Weston Schartz and Cape and Mount Carmel.
By the way,
in
Bob,
5A, Shelby Wehrman was at Derby for a while, and Cheney's trying to win in 3A. The Brandon Clark coaching tree making a difference.
Well, it's not a surprise. Derby's a football factory in a lot of ways.
You know, Max, I'm going to have you intercede here and remind our guests that he's scheduled for 2:25 tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So let's get that. Let's get that done. 869-1240. We're going to take a break here in a moment. On the show tomorrow, Amari Elias from Cape and Mount Carmel at 2:25. Wichita State Athletic Director Kevin Saul at 2:45, and Shocker guard Colby Rogers just confirmed for 3 o'clock
Well done.
tomorrow. And we'll have a game. Then Wednesday on the show, Joe Gatto joins us, comedian well known for, what's the show?
Impractical Jokers.
Impractical Jokers. We'll have Jace Jefferson, the junior quarterback from Andover Central, as well. So we're trying to cover all our bases. I referred to Andover Central as being in Sedgwick County Saturday. That escaped most people. It was erroneous, but most people didn't correct me.
Is Andover
Some did.
Central at 13th and Andover Road?
Andover Central is in Andover.
Right.
And that's in Butler County.
All of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, some of the district spreads into Sedgwick County. So technically, you could make a case, but I knew at the time I was kind of stretching the boundaries a little bit.
A little bit.
And people just went crazy, some of them.
Escaping
Don't you know your geography, Lutz?
Do you? I mean, it's been a long-standing kind of issue on this show for sure.
Who knows geography better than me?
Some people on Twitter.
We didn't get a chance to talk at all about the Chiefs and Eagles because you're having a feud with a guy.
Oh, I love him.
Too bad. We'll take a break. When we come back. Hour number 2, we will talk Chiefs, Eagles. We'll break down a little NFL for you. After the break, stay with us.